Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Beta. Good morning.
Good
Bachcha,
morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
good morning, everyone. Bachcha, have you completed the question answers or not yet?
Yes, ma'am, completed.
Yes, ma'am, completed.
Completed?
Ma'am, completed.
I'm not yet.
How many of you have not completed yet? Raise your hands. Atharv Gupta, Shanvi, many of you. So, the ones who have not completed, please complete it as soon as you can.
Ma'am, we have not discussed the exercises.
We'll discuss the exercises. Is there anyone else who has not done? See, question answers up. I think everybody has joined. Now raise your hands, those who have not joined. Keep your hands raised, like those who have not completed the question answers. Keep your hands raised. अथर्व गुप्ता, आपका काम पूरा हो गया? नहीं हुआ है, यशवंत का भी नहीं हुआ है.
Good morning, ma'am.
अथर्व गुप्ता, have you completed your work? Good morning, बेटा. Okay. Arav Gupta, work completed? Arav Gupta, work completed? चलो अभी तो काफी सारे बच्चों का नहीं हुआ है. फिर let's complete the question answers first. I was thinking that if you complete the question answers quickly, we would start a new chapter, no? Let's utilize this time to cover as much syllabus as we can, बच्चे. So,
Ma'am,
shall
right now we will discuss the exercises.
I was thinking in the meanwhile, these are doing the question answers. We can see the videos of the upcoming chapter. Exercise from school will discuss कर सकते हैं ना? We'll take a day only.
Okay, ma'am.
है ना? Shall we? So, do you people agree with this? Shall we do that? In the meanwhile, you're doing your
Yes,
question
ma'am.
answers. Shall I start the video of the upcoming chapter?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, we will do history, right?
Yeah, we'll do history now. Bhakti and Sufi movements.
Okay, ma'am.
Who is DRK? Who is joining with the name of DRSKS? Do you people know? Is this somebody from your class?
No, ma'am.
Kids, you have done give reasons as well, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And map work?
Ma'am, ma'am, I have not completed the map work right now.
Please complete that as well, bachche. Maps of this chapter are very
Okay.
important.
Ma'am,
Can
can you
you tell?
please tell which all maps you have to do?
Will do one thing. I'll share the pictures after the classes in the group today. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we will not do chapter 4 of history.
Delhi Sultan. Oh, what?
वो नहीं मुगल एम्पायर मैम वो तो कटवा दिया था
Mughal
अब वो
Empire will
सीबीएसई
not do now.
मैम सीबीएसई के सिलेबस से कट चुका है वो
What, beta?
एम्पायर
Mughal Empire will not.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, beta.
Ma'am, we have to do the map of Ganga Brahmaputra basin.
Yes, Ganga Brahmaputra Basin, then Amazon Basin, then you also have to mark Ladakh, you also have to make a map of South America, South Africa. And then there's one world map given in your book where all these areas are marked. That also has to be done. Can you see my screen, children?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
You all might have been to different kinds of religious centers to pray, like temples, mosque, church or gurudwara, etc. Visiting these places gives people positive energy and immense peace of mind. Can you recall a few examples of famous worship places? From the 8th century,
बताइए बेटा. So do you people go to such religious places like mosque, gurudwara, mandir? Do you people visit them?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Why do
ma'am.
why do you visit these places? Because the parents force you to, because you whenever you go there you find some positivity there, or just for the sake of going? ABC.
Ma'am, positivity.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
positive.
Because we find
Because we
positivity.
find positivity and peace
positive.
there.
Have you experienced this that whenever we go
Mm.
there to such places, there is a different sort of positivity and calmness which we find there, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So can you name some religious places?
Ma'am, Ram
Ma'am,
Mandir.
Ram Mandir,
Ma'am, Vaishno Devi.
ma'am,
Ma'am,
Mathura.
Jama Masjid.
Jama Masjid,
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
Mathura.
Ma'am,
Mathura,
Jagannath Puri.
Ma'am, Makkah, Madina.
Makkah,
Ma'am,
Madinah.
Lotus
Golden
Temple.
Vaishno
Temple.
Devi.
Ma'am,
Kedarnath.
Lotus Temple.
Okay,
Kedarnath.
okay. I think we have had enough.
Golden
ठीक, good. Chalo.
people started engaging themselves in different means of worship, like chanting mantras, singing kavalis or bhajans, etc. It was at this time
Have you ever chanted any mantra?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you do any mantra, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So see, अब क्या हुआ, लोगों ने खुद को ना इसमें इन्वॉल्व करना शुरू कर दिया. There were some people who used to recite who used to chant mantras, some recited poems and hymns, right? Some people used to do Qawwali. Different people started involving in different sort of ways to reach God.
that the Bhakti and Sufi movements emerged. Before the big kingdoms evolved, people used to pray to or worship a deity of their choice. As more people came into contact with each other, due to the growth of different towns, empires, and trade, the ways of worship also changed, and eventually, new thoughts and ideas started to evolve. One such thought was that all living things pass through countless cycles of birth and rebirth based on an individual's good or bad deeds. During the 8th century, casteism was widely practiced, where people were differentiated based on their caste, and the social benefits that they were accorded were based on their caste status. Many people could not accept this practice and started following the teaching of Buddha or the Jainas, in which people were taught how to overcome social differences and break the cycle of hereditary benefits. There were also other groups of people who chose the path of devotion and were attracted towards the idea of a supreme God. The devotional path was mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as well. Let's learn more about this devotional path. Local deities were linked to Shiva, Vishnu and Durga, and eventually these three were considered to be the three main deities. Along with devotional practices, many myths were added to Puranic stories, which gained wide popularity in the early centuries of the Common Era. Reading Puranas gave people the idea that devotion is the only means through which anyone can be closer to God and attain prosperity, irrespective of their caste. The idea of bhakti was also adopted by the Buddhists and Jainas. In the southern part of India, during the 7th to 9th centuries, caste was not a barrier for people to worship their god. Even groups counted as untouchables, like Pulaiyars and Pannars, were among the new group of devotees. Saints who were devoted to Shiva were named Nayanars, and the saints who were devoted to Vishnu were called Alvars. The Nayanars and Alvars were critical of the Buddhist and Jain practices. The Nayanars and Alvars were inspired by Sangam literature. Let's discuss these devotees separately.
हाँ जी चलो बताइए. Which of the following gods associate local deities in India?
Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma.
Ma'am, all except C.
Ma'am, goddess Durga.
Ma'am, all except C.
Ma'am, can we take multiple options? No.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, goddess
Shiva.
Durga.
That is Durga.
Can it's the correct choose the correct answers. So I think we can choose.
Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu.
Choose one, children.
Ma'am, Lord Shiva.
Lord Vishnu.
Lord Vishnu.
Lord Shiva.
Ma'am, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva.
Goddess Durga.
Lord Shiva.
I think we have to choose multiple answers. Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and Goddess Durga.
As mentioned earlier, the Nayanas were worshippers of Shiva, who belonged to various backgrounds such as potters,
बेटा ये
untouchable,
बहुत important है याद रखना. The devotees of Shiva were known as,
Nayanars.
and the devotees of Vishnu were known as.
Alvars.
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 Workers, peasants, hunters, soldiers, brahmanas, and chiefs. There were 63 Nayanars in total, but the best among them were Sambandan, Sundaran, and Manikavasagar. Devaram and Tiruvachakam are the two sets of compilations of their songs. Similarly, Alvars were worshippers of Vishnu who came from equally different backgrounds. There were 12 Alvars, but the best known were Periyalvar, Namalvar, etc. Their songs were compiled in the Divya Prabandham. During the 10th and 12th centuries, saint poets used to visit many places. The kings of Chola and Pandya dynasties built many temples in these places. Building temples strengthened the connection between the Bhakti movement and temple worship.
Ma'am, Alvar saints.
Type.
Ma'am, Alvar saints.
Alvar.
I'm
First
Alva.
is Alvar.
I'm Alvar.
Alvar.
Okay. Andal was one of the 12.
I'm Alvars.
Sir, Alvars.
Alvar.
Alvars.
Alvar.
Alvar.
Dash compiled
Ma'am,
song.
Ma'am,
Alvars.
Narayana.
Ma'am, Nayana.
Ma'am, Narayana.
Rayana's name was Nayanar. Let's see.
I'm Nair.
Ma'am, Alvars spelling is wrong. Alvar.
VARS. The rest is correct.
During the same era, religious biographies, also called hagiographies, of the Nayanar and Alvar saints were written. These hagiographies are the source of the history of the Bhakti tradition.
What are hagiographies, children?
Let us now read.
What are hagiographies? बताओ. What are hagiographies?
Ma'am, religious biography of Nayanars and Alvar saints.
Good.
India is a land of many religions and sects. From time to time, various religious groups that emerged in India criticized the rituals and other aspects of conventional religion and the social order using simple logical arguments. During ancient times, both Buddhism and Jainism gained prominence by opposing the rituals and social inequalities prevalent in society. Similarly, during the medieval period, many sects and saints also opposed unnecessary rituals and other evils in society. Between the 13th and the 17th centuries, there were a number of great saint poets who used to inspire people with their devotional songs. These were the Bhakti saints. So, can you tell the Western Indian region in which these saints gained prominence? They were mostly from the region of Maharashtra and composed songs in simple Marathi. The most important among them were Gyaneshwar, Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram, and Jokhamela. Were only the men engaged in the Bhakti movement? No, there were women saints too who were famous. One such woman saint poet was Sakubai. The Marathi tradition of Bhakti was centered on Lord Vithal, who was seen as the reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. It also focused on the fact that God resides in the hearts of all people. You know the philosophy that was adopted by the saint poets? These saint poets rejected all forms of ritualism, outward display of piety, and social differences based on birth. They also rejected the idea of renunciation. As they used to live with their families, they earned their livelihood like any other person, while humbly serving fellow human beings in need. During the same time, a new humanist idea emerged, as they emphasized the idea that bhakti lay in sharing others' pain. This thought of theirs is very much visible in what Saint Narsi Mehta had said. They are the Vaishnavas who understand the pain of others.
Which lord was the center of the Marathi Bhakti tradition, children?
Lord Vithalla.
Lord Vithala.
Lord Vithala.
Lord Vithala.
Lord Vishnu.
Lord Vithala.
As we have seen in the case of poet saints, that they rejected the idea of renunciation. So, the question arises, which group adopted the idea of extreme renunciation? Nathpanthis.
What is the meaning of renunciation, children? What is the meaning of renunciation?
Sannyasi, to become a sannyasi.
Yes.
Siddhacharas and yogis advocated renunciation of the
Have
world.
you seen such yogis, the ones whose picture I have just showcased? Have you seen such people? Yogi Adityanath is not that kind of a yogi, right? So there are various categories in these as well.
So, what philosophy was adopted by Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas and yogis? For them, the path to salvation lay in meditation on the formless ultimate reality and the realization of oneness with it. But how did these religious groups want to achieve their goal?
What does they want to achieve? What's the goal, children?
Moksha.
Moksha, salvation.
To achieve this, they advocated intense training of the mind and body through practices like yogasanas, breathing exercises, and meditation. Do you know the section of society that adopted the path of Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas, and yogis? This philosophy became popular, particularly among the depressed classes. Their criticism of conventional religion created the ground for devotional religion to become a popular force in northern India.
Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas, and yogis were popular among the
Depressed classes.
Depressed classes. Some depressed classes.
The path of salvation was Siddhacharas and Nathpanthis laid into.
Meditation and yoga.
एक word आएगा वो यहाँ पे.
Meditation we can write.
Meditation.
Mom, yogis.
Let's see.
Let's summarize the concepts we have learned.
Clear, kids? समझ में आया यहाँ तक?
Yes,
Which
ma'am.
we have talked about the Bhakti movement in
Ma'am.
India. Right now, let's talk about the
Yes,
Sufis.
ma'am.
Dear children, all of us have our own method of worshipping God. Conventional religion has a set of rituals, while devotional religion focuses on the realization of oneness with God. In this session, we are going to discuss Sufism. Sufism comes under the category of devotional religion. These Sufis followed Islam, but they did not like the outward religiosity. Rather, they preferred love and devotion to God. They propagated the idea that all human beings should have mercy towards one another. As we all know, Islam believes in monotheism, or submission to one God. It discards idol worship. It emphasizes collective prayers, which is the namaz of 5 times a day. At that time, the scholars of Islam developed Shariat law. They set certain codes of behavior and holy rituals. Sufis rejected some of these codes and rituals. They presented their own idea of Islam. According to them, one should love God as a lover loves his beloved. They get lost in each other and forget the whole world. They wrote poems to express their feelings, just like the saint poets. They also gave us a rich literature in prose also. Ghazali, Rumi, and Sadi were the great Sufis of Central Asia. Sufis also thought, like Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and Yogis, that one should be trained so that one might look at the world in a different way. Their training included zikr, chanting, contemplation, sama, singing, raqs, dance, discussion of parables, breath control, etc.
बताइए. Rumi and Sadi were the great Sufis of
Central Asia.
Central Asia.
Central Asia.
Central Asia.
Central Asia.
Ma'am, Central Asia.
The Sufi master was given the title of Pir.
पीर कहते
This
थे सूफी के
produced
मास्टर्स को, ठीक है.
silsilas. These silsilas were the lineages of Sufi teachers, where every teacher had their own method of instruction. Thus, they were slightly different from one another. We find that these Sufis began to settle in India in the 11th century. Previously, we learned that the major Sufi centers were developed in the reign of the Delhi Sultanate. This development played a role in their arrival in India. The most powerful silsila was the Chishti silsila. Teachers like Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti of Ajmer, Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki of Delhi, Baba Farid of Punjab, Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia of Delhi, and Banda Nawaz Gisudaraz of Gulbarga were attached to the order. The assemblies of these Sufi masters were held in khankas or hospices. Hospices were the houses of rest for travelers, especially for those who came for religious purposes. Kings, noblemen, ordinary people all attended these assemblies for the solution to their problems, seeking the blessings of the saints. Nonetheless, they attended it for the peaceful music and dance. It was believed that Sufi masters had miraculous powers and were able to cure illnesses and grievances of the people. That is why their tombs and dargahs became places of pilgrimage for people irrespective of caste and class.
बताइए. The first Sufi master with the title of
Pir. Chitti.
Pir. The lineages of Sufi teachers were known as
Silsilas.
Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia, a Sufi saint from
Delhi.
Delhi.
Ajmer. I'm not.
Ajmer.
Ma'am, Chishti.
चिश्ती की स्पेलिंग गलत लिखी है, मुझे लग रहा है मैंने. चिश्ती सिलसिला पूरा लिखना था बस. ठीक है, डन.
Now let's have a quick recap of this interesting session.
समझ में आया बेटा जितना पढ़ा अभी तक? जितना देखा समझ में आया?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. चलो अभी हमने बात की बेटा नॉर्थ इंडिया की, साउथ इंडिया की. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द नॉर्दर्न इंडिया. ओके. Here we are talking about, these are like whether we talk about Kabir or Guru Nanak Dev Ji. These are some important religious reformers or bhakti saint or saints of the bhakti movement. Okay.
India has been blessed by the presence of many enlightened souls. We have learned how people in India were drawn to the Bhakti movement, which gave rise to saints like Kabir, Tulsidas, Surdas, Shankar Deva, Dadu Dayal, Ravidas, Mirabai, and many others. The Bhakti movement was also instrumental in bringing together people of different religions. People followed the preaching of saints, irrespective of their religion. Let us find out more about one of the Bhakti poet saint, Kabir, who lived around the 15th and 16th centuries. His teachings were profound and still continue to have a deep influence on a lot of believers. Who was Kabir? Was he born to a royal family? Or was he a noble in a king's court? No. Kabir was born to a humble weaver family who was believed to have stayed close to the city of Banaras, Varanasi. Unfortunately, there is very little evidence to suggest his exact birthplace. He transformed his ideas by composing verses in the form of sakis and pads. These compositions were sung by wandering bhajan singers. This is how his compositions became popularly known to many people. Though many of his compositions were lost as they were verbally handed down from one generation to another, a few verses were collected. Some of these are also preserved in the Guru Granth Sahib, Panchavani, and Bijak. In fact, his views were so bold and futuristic that they are quoted even to this date.
Ma'am, he lived around the 14th to 15th century.
He wrote his verse in form of Sakhi.
Ma'am, he was brought up in family of weavers.
Ma'am, option A.
Ma'am, it is in the question, it is written statements. So,
Yes, you
ma'am,
can pick
there
more
might
than
be
one.
multiple
You
answers.
can pick more than one.
Ma'am, D. Ma'am, D1
Okay, and
was brought up in family of weavers.
and
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
he
C
apparently
option.
lived around modern
BCD.
Varanasi.
Then BCD. Ma'am, accept B all. Except A.
Except B.
Let us now understand Kabir's view on spiritual enlightenment. According to him, irrespective of which God we seek, Ram or Rahim, our thoughts and actions must always be aligned. He also stressed that we must not ignorantly carry out religious practices and hide our vices. From Kabir's compositions, we can understand that he rejected traditions dictated by religion. Whether it was Hinduism or Islam, he did not believe in idol worship and rituals. He also voiced his opinion on the equality of men and strongly denounced the dominance of the priestly class and caste system prevailing in all religions. He also asked people if they wanted to obtain spiritual enlightenment, then they must follow the meaningful practices every day, instead of observing them on selected days in a year. He stressed that God is omnipresent, and he also resides in our hearts, and we must search for him inside ourselves. How is that Kabir's teachings are still hugely popular to this day, though they were sung centuries ago? The reason for this is the language in which he composed his hymn. It was a form of spoken Hindi which was understood by common people. He also sometimes composed in a cryptic language that was not easy to understand. Kabir did not believe in religious discrimination, and his followers belonged to both Hindus and Muslims. Kabir believed that God does not have a form and preached that the only way to attain God was
Ma'am,
False.
true.
True.
Ma'am, true. True. True.
True.
True.
Ma'am, true.
Ma'am, true.
True.
Ma'am, true.
Walk through Bhakti. Let's summarize some important points we learnt about Kabir in this topic.